We're back with it. Now, the question is going to be, if the budget committee has said they're not going to approve anything that is more than 7% of our GDP in terms of a budget deficit, the Korea Attorney tends to think that the only way out is to increase our budget ceiling to 12 trillion. Meaning that if you are actually within that, then it can borrow more. But if you look at exactly what we've done from last year up to now, we've been renegotiating for our debt repayments, which if you remember, we had said no to last year because we thought we were still within that debt bracket. Now, Abraham, this is going to be the question for you as well. I mean, if you look at where we are right now, you're saying that we gotta take down our expenditure.
Yes.
But we can't correct it now because we're already in it.
You see, there are things you can correct. Like, for example, debt service can be brought down by simple restructure.
Yes.
It can be done.
Yes.
So that we actually pay, we are now paying almost $1 trillion. We can actually pay half of that.
Yes.
Depending on how well you do the restructure process. But getting back to what you're saying about increase the limit to 12. Okay, let's say we say yes. But have we solved the problem of why we moved from 6 to 9? No, we have not solved that problem. So it will simply go to 12, then we'll have this conversation a year or 2 years from now.
Yes.
So, and this conversation may continue ad nauseum until we address the reason why our debt is growing at that rate. And you see, there's no problem with our debt. It can grow even to 20, but is it carrying GDP with it? Because if this debt is productive debt and debt that is coming to our economy, there's no problem.
Yes.
Yeah, the debt has never killed anybody. The only debt that kills you is debt that is consumptive and has no return to the economy.
Yes.
So the question is, even if you're giving him the leeway of the 12, this 3 trillion or 3.5 trillion that you're going to borrow, what exactly do you want to do with it? And is it coming to try and rescue the situation we are in terms of the debt? Because if it's not coming to do that, then we'll have this conversation in a very short while to move it again to something else. And we may reach a point where we are unable to sustain whatever we are doing.
Yes.
We are not very far from that. So
yes.
I think we need to address, before we do the 12, I think we need to also assess ourselves, how did we get to 9? And what can we do to start reversing some of the things that are making us consume data at the rate at which we are consuming.
Are there fears that if you're trying to correct it in the short term, then you're also affecting development and expenditure for that government, because you need to grow the economy at the same time when you're addressing some of the issues that are befalling that economy?
Yes. You see now the problem when you have limited resources.
Yes.
The first thing that have to be paid are those two things: the development, the wage bill, and then you pay your debt service. By the time you pay those two, you have no money in your coffers. So you have to borrow to do everything else, including development. So what does that mean? Then the development expenditure is scaled down. So when it's scaled down, you slow down your growth of the economy.
Yes.
And now you come and compound this problem. So I'm saying we have to find a way of doing it another way, so that we have more money going into development, whichever way we do it, so that we grow the economy to a level it can afford first of all, to carry the debt that we have, and to carry future debt, because we will not stop borrowing. Everybody's borrowing, so
yes.
it's no big deal about it. But we're able to carry debt that comes in and grows the economy and is able to pay for its portion of debt plus something extra.
Are you giving Yatani the situation of can't pay, won't pay in his restructure journey? Because if you look at exactly how much we owe in debt, whatever restructure you're going to take, then it has to take some time again. Is it to the level where you're saying, well, guys, I owe you, but you see what is going on in my country. Look at how much we are collecting. And if you look at what the budget committee said, well, you got to revise how much KRA's target is again for 2021, 2022. They brought it down to 1.6. Yatani had put it at 2.1 trillion. Yeah, no, is it to the point where Yatani is going to say, well, look here, you give me money, but now I can't pay, won't pay? Is that the situation that you're giving it?
Yeah, we are trying to avoid that.
Yes.
We are to go into default space.
Yes.
But you see, the beauty of restructure is that, first of all, Kenya is a country that will be here in perpetuity.
Yes.
Yeah, is a sovereign, is a sovereign nation, and is not mortal. So Kenya will be here forever. So that's why we need to sit with our bilateral lenders and agree that this debt looks this way. give us more time,
Yes.
give us more moratoriums.
Yes.
If it's commercial, same thing. Sit with them, have a conversation, because we put everything on the table, because we can only afford. And by doing that, we probably could cut our debt service by half. If today cut our debt service cost by half, that means we would free 500 billion to do something else.
Yes.
Then we go to the public wage bill. Public wage bill, of course, there's no magical bullet. But SRC has talked about this issue for long, and they have a very clear strategy of how, over time, mid and long term,
Yes.
they can sort that problem.
Yes.
So that cannot be sorted out short term. It can't. But what we can sort short term is to ensure that we engage, the public service engages only in essential expenditure. See, salary is what those we cannot avoid, but there's some things they can cut. And they know that better than I do. But in terms of debt restructure, that is something that can be done in a fairly straight and fast manner,
yes.
so that it fits into the short-term agenda. Because if we can cut that down, then we free some money. Then we start easing the pressure. And now, because you see, KRA in this 2021, next year the election year, so we probably will be dancing around there, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. If we did very well, maybe 2.
Yes.
But now again, tax, you only tax business, you only tax income. And this is an economy where people have less income, have less business. So it only follows that what you tax is also going to fall. And that's why you see, that's why we're trying to go into new areas. But even if you're doing the wealth tax or whatever tax you want to call it, they're all income derived. So even the wealthy are less wealthy, as wealthy as they are. So everybody is taking a hit. So the sum total is that the total taxable income, global, by global I mean Kenya, is lower. And that is the harsh reality. So if we look at it that way, then that means there's a mathematical ceiling of how much KRA can collect,
yes.
even if they're 100% efficient.
Yes.
So if that ceiling is X, then the expenditure cannot afford to be above that.
Yes.
Whichever we do it. Because it means no matter what you do, you cannot go above X.
Yes.
So why don't we have our expenditure at way below X?
Yes.
So that we give KRA room of error. Because these guys do very well. They do 98, 97, very high. But we still crucify them because we want them to collect everything. And that's not practical and that's not possible because our economy, the way it is, our employment rates are going higher, businesses are going down. So the sum total of what we can collect is going lower every day.
Pretty much. Abraham, just as we clear this issue, therefore, if you look at exactly the way we started 2021, Treasury gave us a figure that they expect the economy to grow to this year, and they put it at 6.2%. They said there's going to be a big rebound this year, going by what the predictors for Q4 were really in terms of our GDP growth. Can you peg that as an indicator of how much you can borrow? Because, well, your economy is also bound to grow by that much.
First of all, 6.2 I think is ambitious. I think that last year we had this discussion here. I told you Kenya will not grow by more than 1%, and that's what happened.
Yes.
Not that I'm the best in this business, but 6.2, using which indicator? What in this market tells you that we can do 6.2? Unless something very drastic was to happen.
Yes.
But as things stand now, we're still in the same. We are in the same regime we were last year. So if we did 1, then let's talk about 1, 2%. But 6, yes, it's good to be ambitious. But realistically speaking, we are as things stand now, we're in the regime of 1 to 2.
Yes.
Yeah, unless things change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. All right, let's cross over to the last issue that we have for you this morning. But Homeboys Entertainment PLC has issued a profit warning for the year ending December 31st, 2020. Now, the company that listed on the gems market of the NSE last year turned in 36.6 million in December 31st, 2019, has blamed the COVID-19 disruptions and restrictions on their performance. Now, the company has, however, expressed optimism in days to come, announcing that it has secured contracts with the Kenya Football Federation, Kenya Rugby League, WRC, Safari Rally, East Africa Motorsports Club, the Superbike Association, Esports Federation of Kenya, and the Magical Kenya Open. Now, the company has a list of different business running under it, which include events management, soundtracks, DJ agency, barrier stage, and generator hire, bleachers, e-commerce products, and public relations. Question being, how complicated is the operation space for homeboys in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic? Abraham, when they listed, we said, wow, an entertainment company, finally, that is going on the gem segment of the NSA. How complicated is that space?
If I answer that, I think for the record, I think it's good that I disclose. I went to school with at the university.
Yes.
In fact, Mike Rabah started this when we were still at the university.
Yes.
So it's been a journey, and it's commendable what this has turned out to be. Now, having said that, Homeboys is in the what I was telling you about, the entertainment industry.
Yes.
They're in events, they're in DJing, they're in sound, and all that appertains to that space. Now, as I told you, the COVID restrictions are working against people congregating in large numbers.
Yes.
Or people socializing in large numbers. So you can see the reason why he's in that quagmire, and that's why they're issuing a warning, is simply because that they've accepted the reality that the restrictions are working against their business. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can see they've signed a lot of contracts with those people, all those events. Those are the major events that are coming. But then again, now the success of those events will be dictated by the kind of restrictions that will be obtaining at the time those events will come to life. What I'm saying is that there can be a best case scenario where we will have completely relaxed or restrictions and people will move freely, or it could be that we will have again clamped down.
Yes.
Okay. We've had instances where events are being postponed or being held without people. So at the end of the day, this kind of businesses are struggling. And they're struggling, why? Because what they do for a living has been constrained, and has been constrained by the fact that people, that the other factors of saving life that are obtaining.
Yes.
So for them, I think they're trying to weather the storm in the best way they know how, and trying to see how they can transform their business model to try and survive this. Because at the end of the day, some of the things they do can only be done if congregations come back to life. So what is the outlook for them? The outlook for them is that there's new space for them. There are virtual events and events that still work within the reality of whatever is obtaining.
Yes.
But on the other hand, there's some segments of their business that can only thrive if those numbers come down. Because, for example, if you have got huge infrastructure for the big domes or big sound, those things are only effective if there's a large crowd. So it's for them. I feel their pity. I feel the agony in terms of the space they are in. Yes. But it is what it is. You already have the infrastructure. You're already in that business. So I think you have to play it day by day. And these are the kind of business we need to think about, even as we are doing our restrictions. To just think about these people, spend a moment and think about them, and see how much we can accommodate them, given whatever is going on. Yes. Because if we don't, and we might end up killing enterprises that have, because you can see, as I told you, Mike Rabah started this when we were still at the university. That was in 1991. So it has been a long journey. So personally, I think it's a very, very, very delicate balance. But I think, as I said, if we all sit in the same room and listen to each other, there must be a way.
Yes. Yeah. So when they listed on the GEM segment of the NSA, some analysts said that this entertainment industry in the country is quite tricky, that your service portfolio has to be so wide to the point that an investor looking at you will say, well, you just don't do this. Do you think that it's diversified enough to help them ride through the pandemic? For them, I think if you remove the pandemic factor, they were quite diversified. Yes. I mean, they were doing the whole value chain, yes. Literally. I mean, they could do an event, and he could be in, these are the kind, he had the capacity to be in several events at the same time. Yes. So he had by and large diversified, because if you remove the COVID factor, I don't think anybody foresaw this kind of situation where you could restrict crowds, you could remove people from where you could not hold a safari rally, or you could not have crowds in a stadium. Nobody, I mean, you could not imagine something like that. So these businesses were modeled around that crowd and around that hype. But then again, a disruption has come, so people are busy thinking, is there another way we can be doing events? But so far, we've not come up with something very clear or something close to what we are used to. Yes. So only time will tell what will happen. But I think
yes, there's an element of changing your business model, but there's also an element of us accommodating these people as much as we can.
Somebody told me to ask you this question this morning. When you look at Homeboys Entertainment, it's a company that is trying to draw in a lot of investment. They floated a couple of shares. What would be your advice for somebody who wants to go in for some of those shares? Go in or hold on?
The answer is there's no problem with going into those shares.
Yes.
And if you want to go into the shares, the time would be now.
Yes.
Because they're fairly priced now. But as a long-term investor, this is not something you're going to recoup your investment in the short to mid term.
Yes.
You have to go in and stay and stay the course. Unlike most shares, where you have to go in where you don't need that liquidity. So only patient capital should put their money in this.
Yes.
But is it a good investment? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because as I say, the only constant in life is change. Even what we have will change. And what looks bad now will be good in the future. And what looks good now probably may be bad in the future.
Pretty much. Abraham, I saw you, as we clear this conversation, go through a couple of companies, the list, a wide list of NSE-listed companies that are already issuing profit warnings.
Yes,
now, we spoke this before going on air. There are even some companies that would have originally given us the results right now, the KCBs and the equities and cooperatives, they're still quite silent. What sort of reading do we make into that?
You see, whenever there's compliant whenever there's statutory reporting deadlines,
yes,
how good a year sometimes, what I've seen in my experience,
yes,
the earlier somebody reports to that deadline is an indicator of how well they did. And the later they try to report, because they end up reporting just because they must,
yes,
is that they're probably trying to grapple with something.
Yes.
So, and I think we all know what they're grappling with. They're grappling with the kind of pressure they have been put under. Don't forget, they've done 9 months of a restructuring regime in that year, and
yes,
then at 3 months this year, the moratorium period of restructuring just ended the other day. So they've 3/4 of a year, or financial year, under that regime. So they probably have, yes, if you look at purely from a loan book perspective, they have interest, they have booked because they have restructured a loan, but probably may never collect. So I think, and that's purely speculative.
Yes.
The debate must be about the provision. What provision can we take prudently on one end, and two, realistically, in the sense that can our balance sheet take it? So it is that trade-off that probably but the reality of the matter is this will be the year where rubber meets the road, because those results will come. But now what will be more important is then what do you do about it?
yes.
This will be the year of what do you do about it?
Pretty much. And so we wait as we look forward to 31st of March 2021. We've been with Abraham Mudago, the CEO of Miradi Capital, going through exactly the biggest events that we expect to see today. And as we close this week, the biggest one being, what is the president going to announce today as regards the COVID-19 pandemic in the country? You see exactly what the effects are. Treasury is grappling with reduced revenue collections and trying to fit within what is quite a tough economy to unpack. Let's wait for that. Good morning. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage, and good weekend.